Good morning, Gail. One more. Hi, Katie. Morning. You feeling fine this morning, Susie? Great. Good to hear. Good, good. So just finishing off where you are, changing the arms, the cross of the arms, if that is required to come even. If you're just about to lie down, just pause. We'll come up in a moment. We'll sit and then we'll go back together. Taryn, good morning. I've got you on screen, but no video yet this morning. Okay, can we start to make our way up? Can you start to come up if you're lying back and come to sitting? Take something underneath you that is high enough that the groins can be open, that the knees can be lower than the thighs. The knees can be lower than the hips, my apologies. And just being in that way that you can start to get some lift, some opening of the chest. And you choose the seated position, Siddhasana, Swastikasana, Padmasana, Virasana, but see that you can start to get this opening and the side body, the front body lifting all the way from the base. And then measure the sit bones, feel that you're even on both sides. And an evenness actually is not just left and right side, but an evenness also, don't be falling forward on the sit bones and don't be rolling too far back. As you're ready, you can close your eyes. Just come to watch and feel and observe the rhythm of your breath. Sometimes, we can allow breath to be a measure of our alignment. So when the breath is starting to get smooth and steady, the alignment is often coming to center. Hi, Gail. Good morning. Bring the palms to the center of the chest. And here again, another measure of the left and the right side. So not too much, but a little bit of pressure. The palm on the left pressing to the palm on the right. Just a slight touch, the heel of the hand just hooking there under the sternum, creating a little more lifting and a little more broadening of the chest itself. And exhaling the breath you're about to do. We'll inhale together. Yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya chavajakena yopakarotam pravaram muninam Patanjalim pranjaliranatosmi Avahu Purushakaram Shankachakra Siddharinam Sahasra Shirsam Shvetam Pranamami Patanjalim Hare Om. Again, pausing there in the sitting, letting the breath settle again. Some vibration still on the outside of the skin, on the inside. And the spine itself continuing to unwind. And bowing your head, releasing your hands. And when you're ready, you can raise the head and open the eyes. Good. And then release from your seated position. All right, so as I said, we're restoring this morning. Be warm, have plenty of props around you, bits and pieces. Let's start reclining. So, Sutra Konasana. Have the spine-wise bolster. If you've already been back on the spine-wise bolster, then you might like to turn that bolster crossways. All right. So you choose. You're going crossways. You could have another blanket. You can certainly have. I should put that just on speaker for a second. Sorry. Let me do this. And Baddha Konasana. So whether you're using the belt for Baddha Konasana or whether you'd like to just use a blanket or some bricks underneath the knees. Your choice with the bolster. The bolster can be spine-wise, lengthwise, or the bolster can be crosswise. Look, the buttock flesh is drawing away from the abdomen, from the side, from the back body, the lumbar spine, and then that the abdominal itself can be really soft and really broad. For the ones in studio, I need a bit of light for Zoom, but would you like an eye one? Yes. Stay inside. Yep. Heading for the sofa. Maybe. All right, so just finding your way, let the shoulder blades be even underneath you. Don't force yourself, don't arch so deeply that you feel as though you're gripping and holding yourself to be there. And if required, perhaps even some height underneath those outer thighs just to support them. If you can, start to feel that the way the legs release, there's still an evenness in the pelvis. You're not rocking too much one side or the other side. Just layer by layer, the body starts to rest and to soften, to settle, and let go of the thoughts. Let go of the thoughts as they arise. Let go of any rumination, any development of the thoughts that, you know, quite naturally, as human beings, we can and do love to have. The Sutra this morning, chapter 3, number 17. Shabdartha pratyayanam itare tarathyasat samkarah tat pravibhaga samyamat sarvabhutarutagyanam. One more, chapter 3, number 18. Samskara sakshat karanat purvajatir jnanam. Number 18, in all areas of human activity, there is the potential to develop individual habits and tendencies, and some will be more obvious than others. Samyama on one's tendencies and habits will lead one to their origins, and consequently, one gains knowledge, deep knowledge of one's past. And as Kachar says, we learn our behavior and our personal characteristics developed, and our behavior and our personal characteristics developed, and what events in the past influenced our attitudes, our likes, our dislikes. And we learn to what degree they are related to our heredity, our tradition, our social requirements, and so on. When these roots are known, we can re-examine our lifestyle for the better. And no better than a restorative practice to just start to sort of meditate on that fact. I had a conversation just this week with someone how yoga itself could be used as a method, a mode to disassociate from what's really going on. It's a healthy one for sure. So just noting that. And for now, not to think again, not to ruminate, not to consider these things, but to let go, to empty. Intelligence of the heart rising. The head itself softening, releasing. Just one more minute in Sutra Baddha Konasana before we move on. Iyengar, in his commentary, takes that sutra even further. He says not just past habits and past activities become known to the yogi, but actually the yogi gains knowledge of previous lives. He says when a yogi is free from all instincts and desires, he sees directly, independent of memory and of feelings of joy or sorrow. Through intuition in the orderly sequence of time, he actually sees his past lineage and future status, and also the lives of others. In Sutra Baddha Konasana, we're coming forward, so slowly bringing awareness back. Just move tenderly. Samesha, if you're better to lay flat now, you're welcome to do that and lean forward. But as you're already coming all the way up, and either the brick, the bolster, something coming forward, and can be Baddha Konasana if that's too much, then cross the legs and rest the head forward. your body's not particularly liking going back and going forward, and don't go quite so far. You can get the chair and rest the head on the chair. Continuing to allow those groins to release. Don't be gripping to do any more in the Baddha Konasana, but undo, unwind, let the thighs rotate and soften in their own way. As you come forward, looking for that spine, vertebra by vertebra, to lengthen. And not just on the back side, but on the anterior, on the inside of the spine. Okay, Taryn. So watch the props we take. Michelle, don't move, but just listen and feel. When we do the bolster like this, the bolster tends to push back at us. You know, it's not allowing you to come forward. It's still got some resistance pushing back. So if you have got something that you can stack up, it's not wrong. Kylie, a little bit the same. I know it's difficult to come forward like this. But something to go down to rather than something that's going to push up. Pop the bolster across the feet, stack the bricks on top. That's right. Yeah, good. And just the last few breaths coming forward in your Baddha Konasana. Good. Before inhaling and coming all the way up. We'll go back into swastikasana. So same thing. If you would like to keep this, the crossways bolster, if that's helpful for you, you can go back over it. I've got my right shin crossed over my left shin, and now I'm just going back into that swastikasana arrangement. You can do this on a spine-wise bolster. So that would be a long bolster. You could have a pillow blanket, a head blanket. And if your lower back is feeling tender, you could also do this with the legs elevated. So coming back flat on the floor, a pillow blanket, and the legs crossed into swastikasana. So one shin crossed on the other shin. And that itself will change the way the pelvis is resting. You may not feel quite so centered. Whichever way you've chosen to rest. Start to feel the back body taking that rest, receiving the support coming up to meet you. And as you allow the pelvis to soften and the thighs to be more released. Let's come back to the sensation and the movement of breath. So breath is your focus. Scan and notice the shoulders. They're often still gripping and holding you. There's nothing to hold, nothing to do. And the shoulders release. Perhaps the neck starts to get softer. You might feel it unwinding. Unwinding is a word we use often, you know, as if tension is sort of being teased out. And then start to feel the whole body breathing as if every cell is an organ of respiration, receiving inhalation. And surrendering that exhalation breath. We talk a lot about the top shoulders. Can you come to the armpit now? Pectoral muscles on the front side, latissimus muscles on the back side, all the intercostal muscles. Can you start to let that side chest and armpit soften more? It takes a little while sometimes in restorative class for the brain to settle across the base of the skull now as the shoulders, the arms rest more and more. And you just let go of any of that tension at the base of the skull, inside the skull, between the layers of skin, the brain itself. And then slowly you bring the knees together and we'll change the cross of the legs. You can pause with the feet on the floor, feet on the bolster, and then just tucking that second leg in front, the shin bone in front, and releasing the thighs. Go a little slowly. Again, the pelvis will have settled, it will have really settled. And so this change of the crossing of the legs could pull you back off center. Don't worry so much about that. What I mean is don't be applying techniques particularly to bring yourself back. In restorative class, you take support and then let the body start to soften. And I'm not saying that you stay there in an imbalanced way. I'm saying that the balance should come with the softening as you let go and as you let loose. The ankles now and the feet, could they be softer? Bones of the calves and the thighs, although still slightly in motion as gravity plays on the legs and they descend more. In that movement, there's always still rotation coming more and more to the legs, the shins, the ankles, tiny bones of the feet. And always there's integration as something happens somewhere, something else is happening all the way along that chain. Just feel those sort of fluid, almost rocking motions. And then deepen the abdomen, the organic tissue. Finding its natural place back towards the spine, broadly spreading. And then just awareness coming back. If you've drifted off, another few rounds of breath. Again, as if each cell of the body is receiving that inhalation. And every cell in the body is softening and settling and letting go a little bit of tension with the exhalation breath. When you're ready, you can open the eyes. You can make your way up, go slowly. Adjust yourself and take any supports. You can sit upright for a few breaths. And then one more time coming forward in Swastikasana. Go ahead and change the cross of the legs if you need to. You can. For the sacrum, the base. The pelvis turning over the legs. Feel that broadening coming to the abdomen, so much space has been created. And then soft shoulders, soft in the back of their head, soft. And throat, the face and the abdomen. Thigh bones rotating. Not with your effort. Try to let go of doing and notice the subtle changes, the subtle releases that you're receiving. Another few rounds of breath in that forward bend. Before inhaling and coming all the way out. Change the cross of the legs, so bring that other shin bone to the front. And then exhaling and coming forward one more time. Adjusting any height underneath you, might be required to be more or less. Just half a minute. Stretch in the back body, yes, but more so stretch in those deeper inner layers, linings. Before inhaling and coming all the way up. Have you got a bolster and perhaps a blanket and a long strap? So we'll do a sideline version of Sutra Padangusthasana 1. You're going to lie down onto your left side. I'm not mirroring you. And I've got these bolsters ready to go and they're around about my hip height. Yeah, I could have one more blanket on there just to lift my knee up, that it's absolutely in line with my hip and the whole of my shin bone is supported. Can you see? If I needed something, I could put a blanket underneath my head as well. Here's my straight leg down here, and it's exactly in line with my body. All right. So in order just to get a little bit more opening stretch through here, once you've got all of that sorted, you can put the strap around your right thigh. Just as we do when we lay down for these poses, we put the belt around the thigh And all we're doing today is turning it over. You can tighten off that belt a little bit and getting that sense of traction, yeah, into this hip. So lengthening the waist. Just move that bolster out of the way so you can really see that's the setup. So I've got the strap around the right hip, tight strap using my bottom leg to create that length. And then it's a supported version, so that leg is onto the bolster. Try not to have this leg, this knee, closed tight as well. So if possible, it's quite an open 90-degree knee joint. And hopefully it feels okay on your hip. That all looks good. And by hip, I mean the one on the floor. I'm sure the one on the top will feel nice with that little bit of traction. Let me see how you're going. Good. Tiny bit higher with the knee if you can, Liz. Try to bring that right knee up and in line. Perfect. Good. And then you tighten off that strap as you're ready and just get that little bit of extra traction, length into the top waist. That's it. Good. And then you can lay the head down. You can lay ear on the upper arm. Just going to bring this a little bit further. And then, yeah, that there. Yeah. This one's for you. This one's for you. Give it the lower back. Good. Is this okay, Jen? Mm-hmm. Yes. Open up. Yeah. So the idea of the belt is to simply make the sacrum and the lower back fairly even. You know, most of, well, I think all women in the class on screen and Lloyd's in the studio, but otherwise women tend to have that sort of narrower waist and a broader hip, which then means we can tend to shorten in this side lying posture. We tend to shorten in lots of ways when we take an uneven weight on the legs, etc. But that belt's just drawing you a little bit more length and a little bit more waist extension or spinal extension. Good. And Mel, if you can, just open up that knee joint a little bit. So the whole shin along the bolster rather than just the knee. Yeah, so it's very much like a standing Marichyasana, or we haven't gone for any rotation yet. It's just simple elongation of that waist, of that balancing of the pelvis. It's not wrong, Steph, to go back there. I mean, if it feels good, I guess, but yeah. Good. Eyes open, eyes closed, you choose. If you need to tighten that belt a little more, you could do that. And then even along the side chest, feeling that you're not falling back or falling forward. And the breath flows. And you could play with bringing that top arm over and just pop your inner arm on the side ear or wherever, and you just get that little bit more extension, a little bit more length into the top waist. And again, it's not that you're rolling back or rolling forward. We're clearly on that side of the body. And using the bottom leg just to pull a little more length to that top waist, to that top hip. The only change I'd make, Katie, is just pushing the bolster down a little bit so it's under your foot. And then the foot doesn't hang out. Yeah. And then the whole, it's just a clear out. Yeah. Yeah. Good. And then slowly you can release that top arm. If you bend the bottom leg, that'll reduce the traction, the tension on the belt, and then you can sort of slide out. Could you roll onto your back for me? Just roll onto your back and be there and feel how much the sacrum, you can bend knees and adjust that you're straight, but just let that sacrum rest. You might feel higher one side, lower. Don't try to do anything. This is not about putting technique on and making yourself anything other than just, we're being here and feeling imbalance. And then hopefully coming toward feeling a state of more balance, more ease. All right, can we bend knees, roll over. You turn yourself or move your bolsters, I don't mind. You can put the head at the other end and the bolsters stay. You can move the bolsters. And then this time, the opposite leg. Put the strap around the thigh. Hook that strap around the bottom leg. See if you can get clearly the knee in line with the hip. The temptation is to really hitch that knee high. No, just keep it perpendicular to the body, 90 degrees to the body. Good. Open up the knee joint if you can, that's it. And the height of the bolster, the height of the blanket stack exactly in line with your hips. Good. Once you're in place, then you can see, do I need a little bit more traction? You can pull that belt a little more if you wish. Bring this down a little bit so that you've got, the whole foot, the whole leg supported. Not too tight that the bottom leg can't straighten, but not loose where you're not getting any of the benefit from that traction, that push of the foot to the strap. And see that your neck is at ease. For me, I have no neck troubles at the moment. I have no neck pain. So I can just rest there on the arm. But if you need a blanket, pop it in. If you need to take any other support, take it. And then eyes open, eyes closed, you choose. There's a little bit of effort to keep the bottom leg straight. And then it's simply letting go. Allowing that belt to create more and more space in the hip joint where the femur, the thigh bone meets the socket. And then as that hip joint, that hip comes down under traction, we create more and more space in the waist, in the lower back, the spine, organic tissue. So hard we often are around the belly, around the waist. Muscularly, we often overgrip. And there's a big focus on strong core and all the things. Often when we work for a strong core, not so much in yoga, core in yoga, I think is really breath, But in other modalities, when you're working for that, it's often, strengthening muscles that are not always helpful. Putting tension and pressure on the organic body. Just let the belt create space, pelvic space, abdominal space, and actually even thoracic space. You can take that arm over your head if you like to do that. And that just gives you a little bit more opening, a little side body stretch. And again, I would say with these restorative postures, once you're there, if you set up well, there's no need to do any technical adjustment or any technical holding. An opportunity to be entirely untechnical. And it's not because the technique is lost and we're throwing the pose out. It's because the technique is held by the props, the floor, the belts, the bolsters. And then slowly you can start to bend that bottom knee, release the hand. You release the traction of the belts and just slip out and roll onto your back and just lay out the legs, don't over adjust. And just let, any adjusting that the body wants to do come to be. Sacrum. Probably feeling quite, feeling the intensity, the weight of the sacrum on the floor. Pelvic bones releasing. And even the ribs a little further away from the pelvis, a little more lengthened, more broadened. And in a moment, and you don't have to rush, you'll come to dog pose. So you might need to take off your socks. If you've got ropes, if you've got any other supports that you'd like to use, please take them. And as you're ready, and roll over, pop those props all to the side. And in the dog pose, still the imprint is there. All of this waist length that's just been generated by that lifting and lengthening. Thigh, the bottom heel. The imprint of the belt still there. Adho Mukha, Svanasana, downward facing dog pose. Submission, yeah, right, good. So still that imprint at the root of the thigh is there. Keep moving the thigh back, keep lifting the thigh up. Good, nice and straight through the arms. Hold that outer upper shoulder in. Lengthen, lift the inner upper arm from the elbow to the inner biceps crease. Good. Now hold the root of the thigh where the belt was. Hold it up and back and just let the spine release down. Neck getting longer. Spine getting longer. Just feel into the palms and the soles of the feet from the center. So between the second and third toes, spread to the little toe side, spread to the big toe side. Between the second and third finger, spread across to the first finger, the thumb, spread across to the little finger. Just stay with it a little longer. Notice where the tension starts to creep in, your fatigue. And try to release tension and find another way. Legs get dull really, really quickly. It's hard for us to maintain the strength in the legs, but when we can, the ease is there. Sense of lightness is there. Good. So last effort. Root of the thighs, where the belt was. Feel the belt there. I know the imprint's fading, but feel it pushing the thigh to the bone and lifting up through the root of that groin. Good. And as you come down onto your shin bones, you can rest the knees to the floor. Samesha, just go Uttanasana and then you can repeat again. Let the buttocks come back, let the head rest. Adho Mukha Virasana. You can broaden the elbows. You can take any supports under the forehead, under the buttocks, under the abdomen. Yeah, good, Ange, nice. And then one more time, Adho Mukha Virasana. You can, from Adho Mukha Virasana, walking out to Adho Mukha Svanasana. Spreading the palms and stretching the legs. Dog pose. And next time we come to Uttanasana. Just feel like that's And Samesha, you'll go over to Uttanasana, and the rest we're going to Restorative Padottanasana. So can you step one leg forward, turn the feet towards that long edge of the sticky mat, and go down and be in your wide leg forward bend. Good, feet facing forward, don't don't overturn the feet. Good, head resting or free, hanging, I don't mind. But just be there, be centered. Again, the feet from the center between the second and third toe, spread to the little toe side and spread to the big toe side. Good, maintaining the verticality through the legs, so don't let those hips roll too far over and forward. Don't let them come back. How does that feel? Yeah, good. And through here, yeah, and just holding a little bit, these sit bones back. That looks nice. Good. And from Restorative Padottanasana, you can inhale and start to look up. And as you're ready, coming all the way up. To stand in Tadasana, so you can be there, bringing those feet all the way back in. If it's helpful for you to stand hip distance apart for Tadasana, take the extra bit of room. If the lower back's tender, if the lower back's sore, I'd say pop the bricks in between the thighs. I think that's always helpful, just to give you that sense of balance from the pelvis. I'm showing with one brick, but you'd also have a second brick, and it doesn't have to be wide, it might be narrow. But again, if the lower back is a little tender, this is a really nice way just to start to get some groin lift and length and an even balance. Okay. So isn't that interesting? The right side's really low. That's it. And press down to here. Yeah, to start to get some grip through here. Yeah. It just wants to go. Just use that. I know. Good, all right. So Samesha, I think stay for a little bit longer and we'll do a bit with the belts, and everyone else setting up for Shirasana for headstand. And if you're not going upside down in headstand this morning, then you can lie back over the chair or the cross bolsters. You choose your option. Headstand is Shirasana, cross bolsters, or chair if you'd like to lay back. Yeah.
If you're menstruating,
Menstruating cross bolsters is the option. Yeah, you can do the chair for menstruating, but typically we wouldn't have the legs down. We'd have the legs horizontal. Yeah. So up to you.
So chair, okay.
Grab a chair and I'll show you if you'd like to.
That's fine.
That's all right. No
Mine's not
problem.
there today, no.
That's okay. No problem at all. All right. I'm just going to put a timer on to keep me honest. Setting up for your headstand. Good. Placing the head.
Your cross bolster, you sit on it?
That bolster's the other way. So you need to have your bottom bolster going across. See how you've got the top bolster going across? Just change it across. So the bottom bolster's crossways and the top bolster's long ways. And then that's it. And you might need something for the head, which you've got.
Yeah.
And then you lay back over that. And then I'll put another belt around there. So for you, often we probably wouldn't go and sleep in that so that it doesn't slide.
Oh, yeah.
But we're here now, so we'll just see if we can make it work. That's pretty good.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
So it's just that's the only change we make of them.
Yeah.
So normally we're here,
Yeah.
which is flat strong.
Yeah.
So this was just getting that. I'm still sort of holding, yes,
Yeah.
pressing to the wall.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Yeah, it's good, yeah. Yeah, nicely set up. Well done. Let me sit down. Nice. The ones in headstand, reaffirming through the elbow to the wrist, feeling the lift of the shoulder, and then looks great. Looks really steady, really centered. How does that feel, Kirsten? Do you feel like you've got enough support?
I think so. There's a fair bit of weight on my head.
Yes, I reckon come up again. We're just slightly different ratios to me. Let's just go. I reckon.
Yeah.
Go again. Sit right through. Yeah, so I want more of you on the chair.
Yeah, okay, that's
Yeah,
what I
so
want.
still one. Now the next one. Good. A little push. Up too high, a bit lower. Push to straighten. Yeah.
Yeah,
Gotcha. And now you're not as light.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not as heavy.
yeah,
but lighter.
absolutely, that's great, thanks.
Still weight here to get this little bit of, you know, like this strong. This was like very early days given to me. Well, it looks good. So put the timer on for 5 minutes. You've just done 3 minutes. No requirement to stay. Of course, you come down as and when you're ready. If you can stay, stay. Gaze simple, steady, soft. Might even be tasting that sense of absolute center, absolute effortless effort that comes. Coming into the last 40 seconds, half a minute or so. Can you change sides? Yeah. And now we're ready to stand. Don't move quickly. Be on the legs, stand to Tadasana, you know, so that everything kind of settle there. And then you can do that other side. Good. Better with the arms now. Right one's just still a tiny bit too wide, Jen. See if you can bring that in a little bit. Yeah, that's it. There's the 5 minutes for Shirasasana. So as you're ready, finding that exhalation breath that you're coming down on. One leg, both legs together, the ones coming down. Can you still feel that imprint of the rope in the thigh, pulling more and more length to that waist? That's exactly it, Liz. And then controlling that touch all the way to the bottom. Control, suck the legs in, control, control. Fantastic. Good. Once you're down, be there, rest. And you roll to the side and take your dog pose as you're ready. So keep the chair and I'll show you another, I'll show you a version of the next one as well. Good, and then when you're ready, you can set up for your Sarvandasana for your shoulder balance. Have a look if you can. This is a really, it's sort of a tricky one to set up, but it is also a really lovely one to do. It gives you lots of support, yeah, for that lower back. So have a quick look. I've got a chair there. Can you see Maggie's? I'm just going to drag Maggie out of the way because, oh no, she's going to go. Her ears are sort of in the way. No, that's going to be where I'm going to go now. Go over here. So the chair is there and you come down. It's just not so easy to get into. because you have to lift the leg of this chair up and onto the blanket stack. All right. So you come down and you're in your halasana. And then, you know, and I mean, if you're in the studio, it's easy, I can help you. But if you're at home, you just lift up these legs of the chair and just tuck them up and on top of that blanket stack. All right. This blanket then comes right in towards my sacrum. And I'm holding the chair and bringing the legs up. Yeah. My pelvis, it becomes really supported because my pelvis is supported. Yeah. I could also, once the chair is there, link my arms through and then hold this way. Okay. You don't have to do that option, but it's just a really nice supported option for the lower back. Okay. Now, if someone wants to use this, you're very welcome to. And let me just have a quick look how they're going on screen. Menstruating option would be a Setu Bandha on the blankets or on the bolster. So I'm actually going to use the, please do, yeah. Okay, everyone's going fine there. Everyone knows what they're doing and setting up. So you're going to do the one that I showed?
Yeah, but I'm wondering, I might get this hard.
No, you need 3 more blankets, 4 more blankets. Yes. I'll put on this, Kirsten. Well done.
I just thought while you're doing that for me, I can do that.
Yeah, well done. Good. This time, rather than having your legs, having to hold your own legs, you're going to rest your legs. Yeah. And then this is just a clear set of under. We're just going to give you enough height. Maybe another. I'm not sure. Maybe. Have a look and then we can make a decision. They might have to get closer to the wall, I'm not sure. For this one. So it's up to you how much left. So I'm really happy. Yeah. But you might be a little bit too much in the lumbar spine. You might just need to be up a little bit with, with another blanket. I would say let's start with another blanket. You can always bring it out.
You may start with a blanket on the shoulder, so you
Put another one on top here.
Yeah, what I might do, Kelly, is just put one there just to often that just protects my back just a little bit.
How does that feel, Samyama? It's a nice way to practice shoulder stand when you've got the got a little bit of tenderness, a little bit of pain in the back. Good. Now slide all the way through. Now to get into this one,
I'm going to go a bit
you'll go over to lay on your back. Don't worry about the chair for the moment. Just try to go either side of it.
Right.
Yeah. Shoulders on the mat and roll over on your feet. Yes. All right, now I'm going to help you get that chair hook and up and on. Just make sure I haven't got any t-shirt yet. Pull it in there, just hold it there. It supports you, and then you can bring the legs up.
Up straight.
Just straight up. And the energy here is pulling that chair, so you've still got the shoulder blade action and the upper arm action, but you've just got that little bit of support in the sacrum. Good? Not good.
I think I need more.
Yeah. So then you come down, back to halasana, and another, maybe 2 more blankets.
Yeah.
Those 2 that Samyama had set up.
Oh.
There's just 2 there behind you, Krista.
Yeah.
Good. Of course, there's still a little bit of work to do in the arms. If you're using the chair, you're either pulling the chair down or threading the arms through and pulling the seat down. So pulling the legs down or pulling the seat down. See this setup done in Pune, and Peter certainly talks about this setup as the very first way he was ever taught to do a chair shoulder stand. So rather than sliding back off the chair like we've come to learn to know how to do, this was the support that was given. That's it. Just be in halasana. Roll yourself back, walk yourself back onto that support. Good, you on? Great. And then the chair is there. Hold on to that. That's it. Now that you're there, letting the mouth cavity broaden, the brain, the cavity of the skull broaden and soften. And just one more minute. The chair into the sacrum to come down. You can bring the legs back to the chair and then over to halasana. And you'll need to unthread the arms, push the chair back off the support. Just be careful. Like that. You've got that chair for support, but just, yeah. And then be really careful as you roll back. You go down the heel here. So you just make sure that feels okay. It should actually feel quite nice just to go back into a natural curve. Good. And then be there just resting, either in sitting, lying, wherever you are. Yeah. And then we're going to lay back over a pranayama support. Chairs can go back. Just need one long spine-wise blanket. So the spine-wise blanket, let me just change the view. Oh, not like that. you. Spine-wise blanket is just a fold, half fold. Yeah. So half fold across, and then you're going to make it into 4. So the top one comes back. Yeah. And then you turn it over and the bottom one comes over. Does that make sense? I've sort of done this little concertina thing. Yeah. So I did in half once this way, and then I took one side back over itself and then the other side back under itself. Yeah, so you end up with this sort of quite narrow, and that'll be for the length of the spine. Okay. You can have a blanket underneath you. You can have a pillow blanket. Have a look at the pillow blanket. Pillow blanket, same shape. So you do a long ways fold, long edge to long edge, and then a fold like this. So there's the spine support. There's the pillow. And then you're sitting in front, just like you'd lay down onto a bolster with a bit of space, elongating, settling. Cover yourself with a blanket by all means, but then when the legs come out, can you keep them together? And then let the legs roll to the side. So less sort of wide shavasana, you know, like we normally do. Lying back, feeling centered. Got a little bit of a grip of the outer shoulder blades. And then when the leg comes, second leg comes, a few breaths with the feet together, and then you can let those feet fall to the side. Readjust if you feel that not quite centered. Pop a eye pillow across the eyes now if you have one. Just up there behind you, Lloyd. Left arm, other arm, yeah, out, and just Jen, you want a blanket over you? No. You're good. So a couple of breaths with those feet together. So Kirsten, normally bend knees and roll down. So always, yeah, you bend knees, lay yourself, and then that's fine, that's no problem. But what happens otherwise, those legs being out straight will shorten, they'll contract the back somehow. Yeah. So with the legs bent, when you lay down, you get all the maximum length coming to the spine, sacrum. Good. And then no problem, once you're there and you've been there with the legs straight and together for a few breaths, just let the legs roll to the side. So it's a narrower letting go of those legs. And, you know, certainly I've been taught some pranayama with the legs together and held the whole way through class. But for now, we're just going narrow with the feet and then letting those legs slide. Close the eyes, cover the eyes. There's no need to hold the heels. There's no need to hold and grip particularly. Just layer by layer, let go, let loose. Feel into that connection of you around that spinal blanket. The spread of the back body from the center to the sides. And soften the face, the skin of the face, drawing down top to bottom. As you take a deeper inhalation breath and a full, long, deep, complete exhalation breath. Let yourself come back to a normal rhythm of breath. And any tension that's come into the body, let that go, let that loose. Skin on the face soft. Skin of the abdomen soft. Each cell of the body an organ of respiration. Can the eyes soften further back behind the lids? Sensation as if the eyes are spreading more and more broadly, even as though the sense of sight now is as if from the temples so much. You can see. And maximum space, cavity of the mouth. Soft, smooth inhalation, soft, smooth exhalation breath. Slowly exhaling the breath you're doing or about to do, and then the skin on the face, the nose particularly down top to bottom as you inhale fully, deeply. Every cell, a cell of respiration, receiving, expanding, filling. And then that exhalation from every cell, full and deep. Just a normal breath rhythm. Finish the exhalation you're doing or about to do, and then one more. Skin on the nose, top to bottom, drawing down as you inhale. Receive the inhalation as if through the navel, and then as if every cell of the body is receiving that breath. Drawing in that breath, not greedy, plenty to go around. Every cell not lining up, but just waiting to receive. There is enough, here it comes. And top of that breath, an exhalation, almost as if you don't really want that breath to leave. Just slowing it down, and then take normal breaths for a few rounds. As you're ready, you'll do another 3 rounds like that. Just a simple Ujjayi breathing pattern of deep inhalation and deep exhalation, reclining. So yoga is a personal practice, pranayama is an intimate personal practice. It's not to take too much or too little, but just to stay on task, on focus. Finish that third round, you can let go, let loose. If you're comfortable there on the spinal blanket, stay. If you need to come over to the side and lay flat, you could do that as well. And from the center, spread to the left and to the right. And the back spread and let the front rest. And slowly, it's feeling your way, feel yourself on the floor, you start to come back. You can bend the knees, you'll need to just roll off that spinal blanket, the one's still there, carefully. And pause on the side. You know, we always say take as long as you like, but do take a few breaths, 20 seconds, half a minute, a little bit of time there on the side, just an opportunity for the body to integrate the practice. When you're ready, rolling over and using the hands and pressing yourself and coming all the way back up to sitting. Good. Thank you. Go well, my pleasure.